guys, welcome back to another production meeting. As always, my friends are here. What's up, guys?
Nothing much, man. What are you? Yeah, I know what you're gonna say, man. I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna pass on that because I want to start today positively with no jokes at all. So yes, all of Clint's friends are here.
I'm gonna go ahead and just
segue
into what I did this week.
We're not enough for you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. No, what did I do this week? I watched obviously the homework, except spoiler, I didn't watch Paddington. Sorry, everybody. What else did I do? I talked about that I played Marquette, whatever, last week, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so really the only thing I've been playing is Phoenix Rising, so which is it's still really good.
It's Rising.
Yeah, I know. If anybody who's played Assassin's Creed, you know that those games are like very notorious for having so many quests. And this is just like that. It's like Breath of the Wild mixed with Assassin's Creed, but it's a fabulous game. And I'm probably about halfway through everything, story and quest. And I've been playing 25 hours ish. So
yeah.
So that's what I did.
You know, Paddington's only 2 hours.
Is it that long of a game, or are you just a completionist?
Well, you have to kind of be a completionist because what's the I forget what other game it is. Oh no, it's also like Assassin's Creed, where if you don't level up to a certain degree, those things are gonna kick your butt, man. They're gonna take one attack, dead. And so you kind of are forced to gather these things that thus add to your stamina, to your health, to your equipment, and thus the attributes for that.
So what you're saying is you're not a skilled enough gamer to do it on normal. You have to grind up to make everything easier.
Okay, man, you show me up. You play this on level 1 and get through without anything. Be my guest.
I'm gonna go look up speed runs of this to see how fast somebody's beat it.
Oh man, somebody beat it in one day. Literally 24 hours.
What game is it? I could have sworn I saw a speed run where it's one of those. I don't know if it's like a Skyrim or something, but you literally come across the boss of the whole game in like the first meeting, and you fight him, and you're supposed to actually lose because he's the boss of the game.
Scripted loss.
Yeah, but there is a way to beat him. Right there in that first game, and then
that's Dark Souls.
Is it Dark Souls?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just was like, dang, all right, you have to like grind it out, but there is a way to actually beat the boss in the first encounter.
That's like Ghost of Tsushima, and I think all of us except you have played that, and there's a scripted loss early in the game, and it's like, hey, what if you actually do defeat him? You can't. You can just get his health all the way down, and it won't do anything until it triggers the cutscene that you thus get, thrown off this bridge.
Well, I heard that Far Cry 4 is the same way. Like if like there's the beginning scene and like you talk to the main boss or whatever, and if like you wait long enough, he comes back, and then the game's over.
I think I've never played that, but I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, I've never tried it, but whatever.
Whatever. I wish I didn't play any games. All I've played this week was Overwatch because I don't know why. That's just what I do now. I'm not one of those ones that's going to be like, oh man, I'm going to like go play professionally. I'm getting this good. No, I just play it, every night for like 7 hours. I'm just playing. I don't play that long. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. I watched a lot of basketball this week, sadly enough, because it's March Madness, guys. And these games have been crazy. What else? I watched the homework. I also watched the 4-part miniseries on HBO, Pharaoh versus Allen. So if you never want to watch a Woody Allen film again, watch this series, it's pretty interesting. The 3rd part is kind of clinical, where it just does like the trial that he goes through. But parts 1, 2, and 4 are actually pretty decent. So, but it's actually really good, and it brings up the question of like, can you separate the artist from art, which is a big thing. Like, do we still appreciate Woody Allen films, even though he's been accused and probably did these horrible things? Kind of like with
Right.
like Michael Jackson. You still like his music, even though he may or may not have done some horrible things.
Right.
So who knows? But it's actually it's really good. It's pretty informative. So yeah, that's what I did this week.
The Whedon conundrum.
The Whedon conundrum. I mean, for real though, like Alex likes to make fun of me, but like one of my favorite bands from like the early 2000s singers did like the worst possible thing ever that you could possibly think of ever. And he's in jail for that. And like, this is horrible. Like, I don't even want to mention what he did. But if you look up the band Lost Prophets, look up their lead singer who's now in jail for some horrendous stuff. I can't really listen to their music anymore because it's not like he played bass or the drums. He's the literal singer. So I have to hear his voice the whole time. Like if you're in a band and you do something horrible, can you at least play like an instrument that's in the background so I don't have to hear you talking to me like the entire time?
Yeah. Constant reminder.
Yeah, constant reminder that this guy liked babies. That's all I'm going to say.
Jeez.
Gross.
Yeah. Gross.
Okay.
Ryan?
And other pleasant news.
Aside from the homework, I didn't do too much. I didn't play much either. But I did go see The Courier with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is in theaters. And now that Regal's opening up, if you like Benedict Cumberbatch or Cold War thrillers, it's worth seeing. Cool. It's not necessarily great. It's got a lot in common with Bridge of Spies, but with much less competent story structure and direction. That's okay. Performances definitely carry it. And Benedict Cumberbatch, despite the fact that this isn't even nearly his best performance, does a phenomenal job just reacting to things and carrying this movie just on slow facial reactions. And the film rolls with that and doesn't explain what he's reacting to. I mean, you get it, but they don't have to spell it out for you. You just get his reaction, and that's the core of the scene. And it kind of carries the movie for me. So it's decent enough. I would like it more if I didn't watch a 4-hour epic the next day and had to think about that the whole day of and then the whole next day. So, but it's pretty fun. It's not fun. Fun is the wrong word. The Courier is not fun. It's a decent movie.
It's not a fun movie?
No. It's
Okay.
not. Night Train to Munich isn't a fun movie either. Or Midnight Express. I don't think Night Train to Munich. Anyway, Midnight Express is what I was thinking of.
Gotcha. I just binge watched Modern Family for some reason. All I watched this week.
Really, what the segment should be at the beginning is, Matt, how much did you play of Overwatch? And Clint, how much Modern Family did you watch? Or how much Overwatch did you play? How much Modern Family?
Alex, how did you not do the homework? And what new movie in theaters can?
That's right. Exactly. There's my part. What movie did I not watch this week? All of them.
All of them.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to see movies in theaters soon.
I did watch.
Yay.
I haven't looked it up to see if it's streaming on anything, and I meant to have it out here and I completely forgot. I watched this incredible movie called Basmati Blues. It is it's an American-made film by a bunch of white guys who definitely like Bollywood movies and wanted to make a Bollywood film. And it's got Donald Sutherland and Brie Larson in it. I highly recommend it. Couldn't recommend it more. If you ever wanted to see Captain Marvel in a Bollywood musical, it's a perfect 10 out of 10. Trust me, don't look it up. Do not look it up. It's amazing. You should definitely go find it somewhere and put it on. It's quality.
Why did I just have this idea? Gosh, what is it? If you guys watch SNL, that sketch where the guy goes to clubs all the time and he just makes up clubs and like what they're about. Like I feel it's one, yeah. I feel like that's Ryan. Like every week you can just make up the name of a movie and say, I made up this really ridiculous thing, and then just say like crazy stuff like this movie's about this and has this person and this person in it.
I'm telling you, it's a Bollywood romantic musical with Brie Larson and some guy I've never seen, and Donald Sutherland is the bad guy trying to overtake India's rice as a crop by using genetically engineered rice.
Yeah, you're making stuff up.
Look! I gave it a 1 out of 10, but I am keeping it, and I would watch it again. I highly recommend it. It is so fun from these people who have no idea how to make a movie from another country, but they really want to. Again, just Captain Marvel in a Bollywood movie.
Well, any chance I have to watch a Brie Larson movie, I'm down.
Yeah. Are you guys ready for the news?
Oh, sorry. I completely forgot. And that's because we were talking about it before. I also watched, and I don't think any of you, I don't think Clint or Alex watched. I watched Promising Young Woman this week. I did rent it from the Redbox. It's amazing. Check it out if you haven't. And we can discuss it later when you two guys have watched it. But yes.
Like Tenet?
Well,
yes,
I
like
was
Tenet.
actually, I was trying to buy that today, in fact, but they didn't have any. Ryan also ventured out to the Walmart and tried to buy a digital version, but they did not have such format. They only had DVD.
I will say this: it's a good movie. It's a great movie. Is it Best Picture worthy? I'm not sure. I definitely think it's Best Actress worthy, just for her accent alone. But parts of the story, and I don't want to give anything away for you guys, kind of I think take that away. Like I don't think it warrants a Best Actress just because of the plot itself, unfortunately. But I think it's really good, and her accent is amazing. Like that's probably one of the best like non like full frontal offensive like American accents that I've heard in a film. So I enjoyed it.
I forgot she wasn't American until just now.
Yeah.
What nationality is she?
She's British.
Oh,
Super British.
I had no idea.
She's also married to one of the guy who is in the band Mumford and Sons.
Mm-hmm.
You mean Mumford?
Yeah, Mumford.
Yes, Mumford.
Literally, yeah. Her kid's last name are Mumford.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a
No, they're just called Sons. That's where the band came from. It's Mumford and
ironically, she just has daughters.
Oh man, that's him being so passive about what they are in life. Like, I wanted sons.
There's a British miniseries that's on Netflix with her in it that is really good. And the name of it is actually escaping me. So if you have Netflix, I definitely check it out. It's only like 4 or 5 episodes long. They're like an hour long, but it's like she plays like a detective. Something I can't remember exactly what the show's called, but it's really good. I think she even got a Golden Globe nomination for it.
She just racks up award nominations and wins.
Yeah,
that's what Carey Mulligan does.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are we ready for the news? Because we got a lot of it.
Oy vey.
Maybe not a lot of talk worthy, but we have a lot of it. So first off, this is going to be like a lot of WB news. First up, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate in Black Adam. Yay. And Alex, he is still Welsh, so we can cross that.
He says so, man. If he says so.
Is Dr. Fate Welsh?
I don't think so. But he
we're in
could
trouble
be.
then.
Oh, good. Then he won't be bad at it. Just kidding,
but
Pierce Brosnan. You're a good guy.
Good guy. I'm sure he is. He was Bond. So what do you guys think? Ever-growing cast of Black Adam. It's cool, right?
I actually, without knowing anything, I have nothing to go on because I don't know the character really. I know Black Adam, obviously, but I don't know much about it, and I have no idea if he's a good fit, but I'm excited for the potential. News is exciting regardless, but who knows if he'll actually be good.
Dr. Fate is like Doctor Strange. He's a mystic kind of character.
I don't know. It's like with Pierce Brosnan, you think you know what you're going to get every time you do it, but you just described a character that I don't consider Pierce Brosnan
exactly
to play.
Literally the same thing I was thinking. I was like, I think I know what I'm getting, but I just don't know if it's a hand glove situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If he gets to be evil, that's good. What was that one that he was in like 2 years ago with was it Jackie Chan? No, who was it?
The Foreigner.
The Foreigner.
Yeah, it was Jackie Chan.
That was okay.
Yeah,
but he brought it hard in that.
Yeah, he did. Had an Irish accent.
Yeah, not Welsh.
Moving on then. Helen Mirren is going to be the villain in Shazam 2. Yay! Helen Mirren playing the
Oh
villains.
man, we're bringing Shaq back. Oh wait, no, you didn't say Shazam. I'm sorry.
Shazam.
That's it. Wait, Helen, why? That's so weird. Do we know who she's playing?
No, I guess they're writing a brand new character for her.
Okay. That's very odd, Cat. Now I feel like you're Ryan saying these movies that you watch.
It's
Making
real.
up
Donald Sutherland sings.
Of course he does, Ryan.
All right, and up next we've got, it looks like Bill Cosby is signed on to do Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2.
Whoa.
He has to get out of jail first.
It's actually the plot of the movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Who Framed Bill Cosby?
Yeah, right. Okay, so to go along with our homework this week, WB, Warner Brothers, is shutting down any type of potential of an Ayer cut of the Suicide Squad. We were actually talking about this before we started recording, and I would have to agree with Alex and Ryan. I don't think it would really much matter. From what I understand, like there was not much difference in Ayer's cut than there was in the theatrical cut. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think, I mean, when you're looking at like the Snyder cut, there's like a minimum 60% difference in the Snyder cut. Well, there's at least obviously a minimum 50% because it's twice as long. And then there's another, I would argue, more than 25% of that 2-hour film that's been replaced. And with Suicide Squad, you don't really get that. I mean, we know they did a lot of rework on it following Batman v Superman. But most of the work that was done, it was just rushing the screenplay and then getting a trailer company to edit the film. So it would just look like a 10% more competent version of that film.
Yeah, but what if this Suicide Squad had Darkseid and more Wonder Woman?
Then it would have to do reshoots. And I'm not sure
A lot of
reshoots are worth it.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of same thing as Ryan. I'm just like, a lot of the footage is going to be all pretty much the same. Honestly, it's just going to have that very minuscule amount of difference, and I just don't know if it'll make any difference now. And I wasn't critical of the editing when I first watched it, and then I talked to Ryan about his view and went back, and I'm like, dude, that is weird how it's cut. Like, it's very choppy. Like,
so for anybody listening on Apple Plus and Amazon and all that good stuff, try to count to 5 between every single cut in Suicide Squad.
because apparently there's a golden rule of what, the 7-second rule?
It's about 5 seconds. It's supposed to be about 5 to 7 seconds.
I thought I remember you saying 7,
Yeah.
but okay.
Yeah, I might be right. Previously, it's been a while since I've made anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if a new version would.
That would make me have to go back and watch Suicide Squad, and I'm good. I'm getting a new Suicide Squad anyway. Why do I need a recut of this old garbage one?
I still don't hate it. It's just like that one's okay, and then Birds of Prey is worse in my opinion. But like
your opinion is wrong, sir.
It is not that we need to talk about Birds of Prey. I think there's merit to that. I disagree with
Yeah, you and McGregor.
But man. Yeah, that's the big thing.
McGregor's the good part of that.
It is way low energy in comparison to Suicide Squad, so I'm not sure it's as entertaining.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's it. The underlying thing is I wouldn't have been able to articulate that on my own. But you say that, and I remember seeing that, and I'm just like, I just kind of remember sitting there bored. Ewan McGregor, awesome in that movie. He's easily the best thing. Just the rest of it, just kind of like ho hum.
I must be in like the minority here. I actually really enjoyed Birds of Prey. I thought it was better than Suicide Squad. I think
it's better. I think it's a little
like
long for my taste. Like I felt like it dragged a little bit at times, but I mean, I'm entertained by the Harley Quinn character. I thought it was kind of clever to that aspect.
Yeah.
But Suicide Squad sets the bar low, so I don't really think a comparison is that far off.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, I think that she, like Margot Robbie, like really encompasses this character. And I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty ingenious of her to kind of like put this character to life, since all we've seen of her is in animated form, and like she's only the character itself is only 30 years old. So it's kind of it's kind of impressive to see her take this character and kind of like encompass it like entirely. So to give her own movie, which let's face it, like they renamed this twice, and like it is a Harley Quinn movie. Do I think that the other Birds of Prey were kind of like shifted aside to make way for her? Oh yeah, definitely. There's some good characters in there and good comic book characters in there that they could have flushed out. Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, yeah, I think was amazing. And the only thing that disappointed me, spoilers alert for anybody who hasn't seen Birds of Prey, is I don't think they should have killed him off. I think they could have easily brought him back to, be a Batman villain, and made him a little less campy and a little bit more like he is in the books, where he's like this darker character. But yeah, he was probably easily the second best thing in there, because I love Margot Robbie in this role. And I think that's why I didn't hate Suicide Squad. I don't think it was a good movie. But the two leads in that movie are Will Smith and Margot Robbie, and I think that they try and carry that movie as best as they can.
Yeah.
So,
I totally
go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just going to say, I wasn't trying to say Birds of Prey is worse than Suicide Squad. It's definitely better. But Suicide Squad feels like it's a brisk 90 minutes. It's almost to a full that it flies by.
Yeah.
It's like this for me. It's like they're pretty much neck and neck. I found a little bit more amusement in Suicide Squad, what little there was to be had. And Margot Robbie is great as the character. Like, I couldn't imagine anybody else as her, because she brings that energy there. I mean, there are other actresses who look like her, like
it's going to be like Samara Weaving.
Is she the one
Yes.
hold on. You and I saw this was Ready or Not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I remember seeing the
yes.
poster. I remember seeing the poster and going, wait, that's Margot Robbie. But it's not.
Yeah, you got me that poster. I have that
I love
poster
that
up right
movie.
now.
That's a good movie.
I like the idea of that movie, but it's a little much for me towards the end. But it is what it is. But
Hail
anyway,
Satan.
yeah, right. I'm like, I'm good. But no, she brings the energy for Margot Robbie, for Harley Quinn, and that part's good. It's just overall, it's a little bit on the bland side to me.
Right.
But and I don't know if a recut or a whatever you want to call this, a different version, is going to make much of a difference. So,
well, I can see your point, Alex, to where like characterizations. Yeah, I think there's a lot more to Suicide Squad, because I think Ayer did a better job of like Captain Boomerang and Harley Quinn and Deadshot, and trying to pull some of those other characters. Like, I think that Suicide Squad did a better job of creating those characterizations for each one of those characters, whereas Birds of Prey really lacked on like Huntress specifically.
oh yeah,
because like they kind of like zoomed over her like whole backstory, and like she's kind of like this troubled character throughout like the Batman books. So like they kind of just like zipped over her, and then like tried to flush out like Renee Montoya and like even Black Canary. So yeah, with characterizations, I think that Suicide Squad did a much better job.
It's because Joel Kinnaman introduces every character with at least 3 fun facts about them.
Right. It's true. Okay, so more Warner Brothers news. Ron Livingston is added to the Flash cast. He's replacing Billy Crudup as Flash's Barry Allen's dad. Yay.
Is this movie still happening? We got it announced
Apparently.
like 6 years ago.
Yeah. Andy Machete's directing.
ironically moving at a snail's pace.
Yay.
They were
any thoughts?
they were just waiting for the Snyder cut to come out, so it makes sense now.
Yeah. From that nightmare sequence.
See, before we even get into the review of the Snyder Cut, does anybody think that this is going to open up like a Pandora's box?
Hold that thought.
Okay. Maybe premature
We'll get
on
to
that.
that.
Okay.
We'll get to that when we get to the review.
Okay.
So Warner Brothers is going back to theater only releases in 2022 with a 45-day window. So they're kind of like doing this whole thing like Universal. Well, it'll be in theaters for 45 days and they'll pull it and put it on, I would assume, HBO Max. Yeah.
Was that announcement post the Disney Plus news?
Actually, I think it was like a day before.
Mm.
It was even like 15 hours before. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of promising young woman, Emerald Fennel is writing the Zatanna movie for Warner Brothers. I think that's going to be pretty cool. She's on a high. I haven't seen Killing Eve. Apparently, she's like been like in the writers' room for Killing Eve. Have you guys ever seen this series? I want to
Is
start
Eve
it.
not dead yet?
Apparently
I don't
not.
know anything about it.
Sounds like a Matt joke.
It's 4 seasons later and she's still alive.
No, they're still in the process of killing Eve. It's not killed Eve. It's killing
taking that
Eve.
long.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Any thoughts on Miss Fennel writing Zatanna? Cool beans. Okay, so two last things for Warner Brothers. Gotham Knights has been delayed. The Arkham game has been delayed. I don't know why this has been delayed. It's a game.
I mean,
some more delays later.
Take it over to our game resident.
Games these days are the same, if not even more intricate in their production as feature films. I mean, there's so much that goes into them, especially like story-driven games such as God of War and I mean, going Horizon Zero Dawn. They're specifically like you have to not only have a good story and make it polished up, but you have to make it playable too, and in a well format too. Not to say that this is exactly like that, because yes, the Arkham games are more definitely story driven, but I think if I'm not mistaken, this is supposed to be more of a multiplayer than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that does make it a little questionable.
Well,
but at the same time, you don't want to rush these things. Once you release a bad game, it's out there for good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like, especially with the past 2 titles of like Cyberpunk and even Marvel, the Avengers game that came out, games, I think it's finally caught wind, and I think studios are paying attention now that it can be really bad to release your game before it needs to come out. Because the Avengers game is pretty much tanked already. No one's playing that anyway. It's not. It'll probably be free in the next like 2 months.
Yeah, there's a little bit of semi news that I can add to it, is that I think they're releasing the Black Panther DLC for that, and I'm like, not to call that a little DLC, but I'm like, this is too little too late, guys. You have scarred your fan base with this very, very, very bland title, and are you really expecting anybody to forgive you on this? Cyberpunk's historically bad, honestly, because that game's been in development for like over 10 years, and it released, and they still were like, oh, we released it too soon. Like, okay, six years, I think 5 to 6 years is around like the amount of time that it takes a really good quality game to be made. They were at this for a decade and still released it, apparently, to them too early. So that's historically bad.
So
yeah,
so they don't want to rush stuff.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the more things get pushed back, I mean, go ahead, push it back. Better than to re-release it or release it, half done or 2/3 done. Because you're only really, honestly, you only really have one shot putting these games out. I mean, once they're out, unless you're trying to fix it, like Cyberpunk may end up over the next 2 years, 3 years, end up being an okay game if they keep doing patches on it. It might, but like the Avengers game, no, that's not gonna. They can't patch that. They can add all they want to, but unless the game fundamentally changes, it's not gonna do anything. So
exactly. Sometimes there's a rare case, like No Man's Sky is a perfect example of a game that was released too soon with not enough content with it, and over the years, it's added more and more and more to its unique gameplay style. And yeah, where I agree with you, Matt. Marvel is like you're really more story driven than you are multiplayer, even though they were pushing the multiplayer hard. It's like you come here for this and this was so not good, then what's the reason for staying? You're not going to add to that. You're not going to add to that story very much. So, but it's not the same exact case with Gotham or Arkham. So you want to make sure you do it right. And, if it's a half year, okay. Or I don't even know how long it got delayed, but,
So 2022.
Did it say specifically when? Okay. So, okay.
I was going to ask, wasn't the first release date supposed to be like next month? It was supposed to be this year.
It could have been anywhere between here and September for all I know. But I still think it's like, I think there wasn't enough, for lack of a better word, excitement about this. Like people were excited about this, but I don't think they were like, oh, I need to get my hands on this. They were more like, okay, you push it back. I'll find some stuff to play, in the meantime. And,
right.
You take your time. There's going to be a slew of stuff this year, a ton of stuff to play this year. So there's going to be time diversions.
Cool. One last Warner Brothers news. A Time to Kill sequel series with Matthew McConaughey is coming to HBO Max. Yeah. More John Grisham, I say.
I feel like the appropriate response is all right, all right, all right, all right.
I thought you were gonna say all rise.
All rise. There we go.
All rise, all rise, all rise.
Yay. More content for HBO Max.
I think that's good. I love that movie. I mean, I don't love it, but it's a really good movie.
Yes, it is a good movie. Mr. Schulmacher. May he rest in peace. Okay, so we have some Disney news as well. National Treasure is getting a series to to Disney Plus. Why do we need this?
Now, we've probably talked about this a bunch. Was this always just a rumor and now it's just getting confirmed?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it was just a matter of time.
Why do we need this?
You don't. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Somebody stole it again.
Yeah. Okay.
Stop stealing the Declaration.
Somebody stole the Liberty Bell.
Apparently, they're gonna recast like the lead. I guess it's supposed to be a Latin or Latina lead. Which I don't care, but I just throwing that out there. It's like, okay, sure.
Well, when I think I just need some more diversity in my National Treasure series. That's all I need. I was thinking,
cool.
You know what this series could use? Diversity. That's what we need.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Disney's changing some release dates. You guys ready for this? Let me pull it back up. So Black Widow is changing yet again. This one actually didn't make sense to me. This is going to July 9th. And it is going to be a co-release onto Disney Plus with the premiere access of $30. So I better get my $30 worth. Cruella is staying at the 28th of May, but is also going to be premiere access, if I'm reading this right. So we can watch Cruella on Disney Plus, where it should be.
Well spoken.
Yeah. Luca, the Pixar movie that was supposed to come out in the summer, is going to be a Disney Plus exclusive on June 18th. So they're pulling it as Soul, or they're just going to throw it on the Disney Plus and just let it go there.
Is that premiere access, or is it just throw it on there?
No, I think they're just going to throw it on there. It doesn't say anything about it being premiere access.
Okay.
So I'm gonna assume that they're just going to throw it on there. Free Guy has moved to the 13th of August. Shang-Chi has moved to September 3rd. The King's Man is now December 22nd. Deep Water, I'm not really sure what that is. It's January 14th. And Death on the Nile is February 11th, 2022.
Dang.
Yeah. So I'd like to get this out here. Why are we moving Black Widow? especially into July.
Yeah, well, you heard my theory, Clint. Was I don't know if this is the case, and this is just me just guessing and speculating, as I have a feeling that they probably are eyeing that time for the Marvel Land to open at Disneyland, because I know it was supposed to open last July, like July 11th or something around there, 17th. So a year after, so they can't be that far off from finishing it, or at least getting it open. So that would be why, just the synergy with that, if I was understanding. I think the biggest news from this is I think we're starting to catch wind of Disney with everything opening up, of Disney, dare I say, having their cake and eating it too with these digital releases. They've got so much stroke now, especially with these theaters. And we saw this working in the theater industry where they would contract theaters to hold titles in specific theaters for specific times, for specific show times, and hold them to that. And then if they didn't, they wouldn't give them the product. And I think Disney is going to start. I wouldn't be surprised if they continuously release things in theaters and on Disney Plus Premiere going forward, even after pandemic. Of course, it wouldn't surprise me either if prices kept going up, if they started charging like $40 or $45 or $50 for these titles.
Wow.
I mean, because it makes sense. But if they're going to schedule Cruella and Black Widow to both do that, I don't see why they wouldn't just keep going into the future. It really just does. It makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for them because they have the stroke to do it. The theaters can't really do anything about that. They'll be like, all right, we're not going to show your movie. And then Disney's gonna be like, okay, that's fine. You're just not going to get, the next Marvel movie or the next Star Wars movie or those Avatar movies that are coming out. Remember those? Yeah, you're not going to get those either. So I have a feeling that's going to be the case. But yeah, I'm excited though. I mean, it sucks to be in the film industry and them do that. But I mean, if you're giving the customer the opportunity to purchase like a title digitally, I mean, go for it.
Well, yeah, especially something like Black Widow. I mean, because it is a Marvel movie, and I agree with you, man. It's like you can, super fans like me, I don't know about the three of you, but I may go do both, and they're going to get their money twice. So, well, I mean, if theater, like, I know that theaters are going to start opening up here, in the next week or two? I mean, Godzilla and Kong are coming out next week, so things are going to start coming in, and when like it's a little bit more safe to go to theaters and everything, I mean, that's a movie that you need to see in the big screen. So, and then to like, if you like it enough, don't give me that look. I'm talking about Black Widow, not Kong.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, like Marvel movies, you need to see on the big screen. So, I mean, super fans like me are probably going to go pay for it twice, because you can go see it in the theaters, turn around and come home and then be like, I like this movie enough. I'm going to pay the $30 to have it forever or whatever. So, all right. More Disney news. Martin Freeman is confirmed to come back to Black Panther 2.
What? A cast member from the first movie is returning for the sequel?
But this one he's playing Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah. In the far off land of Wakanda.
I thought you were going to say he's playing Black Panther.
Yeah.
Well, he is. It's Bilbo Baggins. He's going to play Black Panther.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
He's got the ring now, so he's got the power.
Yeah. Echo series, I guess, is a spinoff from Hawkeye, is coming to Disney Plus. She is a deaf Native American who took the Ronin mantle before Hawkeye. So there's Matt's diversity.
She's now going to be stealing the Declaration of Independence.
I've never heard of this character. Not to sound insensitive, is Echo supposed to be in correlation to her like feeling the vibrations of ground or something with being deaf and all?
She is. I can't remember if she's a mutant or not, but I know that she can mimic fighting styles and like different things. So she so she echoes what you're doing is basically what she does.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is really awesome. Why are we greenlighting spin-offs for shows that we don't have yet?
Because she's that awesome.
Well, just wait, Ryan, until you get the animated version of it.
Stop talking.
In 5 years. There's gonna be an animated.
No, they just announced they're gonna announce it next week though.
I wouldn't be
series for
surprised.
this.
There's gonna be so much egg on your face when that's true.
Yeah. Last bit of Disney news. I threw in this for Ryan as well. The original Ducks are coming back for their series. Yay!
When do I have to watch this again?
You don't.
Every day till the series comes out.
No.
Actually,
Sorry,
the series.
let me rephrase. When do I have to struggle through this ancient movie again?
This ancient movie.
It's okay, Ryan. It's in color. It's not that ancient.
Right. I mean, it's in the 90s. Come on, man.
I'm just making fun of it. I just watched the original King Kong from '33.
There you go.
Not building up to anything in particular.
Hint. The series does premiere this Friday. We don't have to watch it. I will be watching it, but so you have until yes, Ryan.
Wait, is this not a movie?
The series? No.
The series,
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was a movie. Oh, I'm not watching these.
There's 3.
I was like, yeah, I'll commit to one short movie to watch one more short movie. No.
Okay, so I thought we had this conversation. So there are 3 movies.
probably did.
3 movies, and then the series is coming that takes place post movies. 20 some odd years later, and the Ducks are now the bad guys.
Is that a Karate Kid joke, or is that true?
No, it's true.
But yes,
just
it's
doing
also
Cobra
a
Kai.
Karate Kid joke. Yeah,
It's a Karate Kid joke.
Yeah.
I will watch The Mighty Ducks, but I am not watching the show.
And then there will be egg on Ryan's face when it's the greatest show this year.
Yeah.
Oscar nominee.
You can't get Oscar nominations for a show.
Emmy.
Well, they're going to change
yeah.
the rules after the show comes out.
That's
It'll
right.
be that good.
Yeah, man.
It'll be the best picture television series.
They're going to be
right.
like, all right, Lifetime Achievement Award for Emilio Estevez.
Emilio.
2 quick things. First off, Spiral has moved up to May 14th. Cool, I guess.
I love me some Chris Rock.
I know, this is going to be the greatest thing. Remember?
Mhm.
It's the whole sliced bread.
I keep watching that trailer in theaters, and I get halfway through it, and I'm like, man, this looks incredible. And I get to the end, and I'm like, oh, this is stupid. Like Chris Rock in a serial killer movie looks great.
Yeah.
Keep remembering, I'm never going to watch it.
Oh, well. And one more thing to add to our famous segment, Why Do We Need This? Another Bewitched movie is coming from Sony.
I love how Ryan knows exactly where they all are anyway, too. If it were me, I'd be like,
I'm not proud of this one.
And I was about to say, the name of this segment is, why does Ryan own this?
I don't.
I mean, to be fair, it's an interesting concept. And if they want to reboot it, is it a sequel or is it a reboot? Or is it like a reimagining?
Apparently, this is going to be more closer to the TV show. So it's not going to be the meta TV show within a movie or whatever the last one was.
So, I mean, that one failed pretty hard. So if they want to try it again, go ahead. It's been 20 years. It's not like they did it 5 years after the fact. So
yeah,
let's go ahead.
Yeah.
We just don't need Will Ferrell in this one.
I have a question now. Do we, and we've probably talked about this, is there a release date for Quiet Place 2?
Yes, they moved up to May 28th, I think.
Okay. And then my other thing was, Ryan, I can't remember. Did I give you that the Captain America thing? Because I was like, that looks very, very familiar. Okay.
I knew that you would wait until like a quarter into our video to talk about it. Not before, just midway through the video. Yeah, this is a gift from Alex, this Blu-ray.
Well, yeah, I got that. It was a fairly good deal on Amazon. And then I was like, Best Buy was doing a sale, like $10 on their covers, their cover collections of all the Marvel movies. So I went insane before Disney Plus came out, and I bought like every Marvel movie. in this nice pristine collection. And so I was like, Ryan, you want these movies? He goes, okay.
And Disney said, thank you. Here's all the Marvel
I know.
movies.
talk about paying double here. I paid like through the nose just to pay for this service later.
Mm-hmm. And that is a nice segue into our next segment. This is a working title, people, so just bear with me. This week in the MCU Files, we talk about the premiere of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yay!
Just kidding.
I'm gonna go last on our review for this because I watched it on Saturday, and the group I was with was kind of distracting me from a lot of it, so I don't honestly remember a ton. So I'm gonna have you guys refresh my memory.
That's when you kick them out.
I was gonna watch it again, but I lost track of time today. So no.
I can, or Matt, or Clint.
Well, okay. So this is the premiere of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is going to be a 6-part series. This one was kind of figuring out like who the bad guys are. We meet Sam. What is it supposed to take place? Like 6 months later. He's given the shield back to the government. Not really sure who he gave the shield to. Smithsonian or somebody.
Yeah, I think it was the Smithsonian.
Yeah. So we kind of catch up and see where Sam is at after 6 months after Endgame. We also get to see where Bucky is 6 months after Endgame, and he's apparently friends with an old Chinese guy, which comes into play later in the episode. This is just a starting point. I kind of gave this like an 8. Like I really like these characters, like these actors and these. I really like the opening scene. I thought that was pretty intense. And you can tell right off the bat that this is not WandaVision. This is going to be something completely different. And it feels more in line with Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier. But it's still its own kind of like thing. So, like I said, I gave it an 8. Like there's not really much to kind of go on with this episode except for they just kind of establish where everybody's at and what they're doing 6 months after Endgame. So, yay.
An 8, Jesus Christ. I'm just playing. I went into this and, I feel bad for this show because it came right off the heels of, that WandaVision finale and that whole WandaVision series that we all enjoyed so much. The beginning action scene, it's okay. I just wasn't into it. I don't know if my head was just still in WandaVision mode. Like I enjoyed that show so much in the way it was done that just getting in this generic little action scene at the beginning that just seemed to go on for a little longer than it should. I just wasn't into it. I enjoyed that the show flushed out these two characters quite a bit. It was good seeing these characters as actual people in this world, as opposed to just like side characters or, antagonists, where you don't really know their motivations or what they're going through. So that was interesting. I just don't really have a lot to go on just based on this series. I mean, you have that action scene, you have them, detailing where these two characters are at emotionally. And then you have your little reveal at the end of what this series could possibly be about. Which I won't say because it might be a spoiler. If I'm going to give it a rating, I would just give it like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, just because I don't really have much to go on. Like, I feel like this show is probably something that's going to be better if it's only how many episodes is it?
6.
5, 6. Probably as a whole, just to do it as a whole thing. But it was an episode I was just kind of like, 5 or 6. It really wasn't that great to me. We'll see what happens. I was really looking forward for Mackie and Shaw to be, or Sebastian Stan to be in scenes together, but that hasn't happened yet. So I'll wait till that happens. But I was unimpressed so far. So 5 or 6.
I'm gonna be in the middle and agree with both of you guys. I enjoyed what it was. I like seeing the characters. It definitely is a stepping stone, not necessarily towards anything bigger in the series, but it feels like that series taking a step towards making them main characters without making them a $50 or $100 million movie.
Right.
and I liked the drama with him a lot. I thought Bucky's story was much more interesting in this,
Yeah.
and I was really compelled by a certain aspect of that. And what really helped me was Henry Jackman's score, harkening back to Winter Soldier for a majority of the feel. That's like one of the best scores in the MCU. Action sequences were fine. Matt, I'm also going to agree with you. As much as I really enjoyed it, I agree. I think coming off of WandaVision, it feels weird to go from like a finale to a pilot. Because if it were the other way around, it feels exactly the same.
Right.
Winter Soldier pilot, and we go down to, oh, this is a weird 20s sitcom and nothing happens. 40s. I do think, though, it needed something else. I think it needed another 10 minutes of something that happens where the two characters are together, or something more substantial happens. And that's not to say the things that happen aren't substantial. They're interesting. I'm interested. And I didn't think there was anything majorly wrong with it, but I think it did lack some oomph, to kind of set an impact. It didn't really feel like a pilot. It felt like episode 2. Very much so, where it was like, you know what? We just came off a big action sequence and introducing all the characters. So now we're going to take a little bit of time, one action sequence, a little bit of lowdown, and building up for the rest of the season. And maybe that's how it's supposed to feel, following their story and endgame. But I liked it. I'm going to give it a 7. I like how much it harkens back to Winter Soldier, so I'll give it a 7 just for Henry Jackman's music.
I did think of this one thing, and the reason I don't think I enjoyed it that much. There's one scene in this film, or in this show, where they're Anthony Mackie's they're on a pier, and he's talking to his sister or whatever, and they're talking about their business. And whoever is running the camera, the handheld camera, could not hold a steady shot to save their life. I felt like I was watching Speed 2. The thing was like this the entire time. And I'm like, no action is happening. You're not on the water. You are on a pier you're not even on the boat right now. Can you not hold the camera straight? And why they didn't go and reshoot that? Did somebody not look at it and play back and be like, you know what? That doesn't look that great, guys. It gave me a little headache, and it just annoyed me. So that's why I didn't like that either.
I will bet that they watched that in Video Village and they were like, that looks great. And they watched it on a big screen that night, and they were like, crap, too late.
Yeah.
They were going over dailies and they were like, this sucks. Kind of like everything Paul Greengrass has ever shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess it's my turn.
Yes.
First, every time Ryan ever mentions Henry Jackman, I always think the Uncharted 4 score. Absolutely. I don't know if have you ever played the game?
I'm still on 1.
Okay. Well, whatever. He knows the score anyway, and I always think of that. So, yeah. I think I'm a nice little blend of everybody else's review. I'm going to kind of conform here. I wasn't able to kind of get any memories jogged from this because, I probably that'll happen when we go to spoilers here in a second. But yeah, I thought like Clint, where I enjoyed the opening scene. It was nice action. It was cool. There's some, what's the word? Not cliches, not trademarks, but some signatures in there, choreography wise. But then there's some nice little mixed up stuff, so it's cool. But then it's kind of a lull for the rest of the episode. It's, 10 minutes of action for 40 minutes of just kind of story building. And, it's not bad. I agree with Ryan where, and I believe Matt said it too, where Mackie's story arc is, until we know eventually that they kind of blend together, Mackie's is not great. Obviously, it's just a beginner though, so we don't have much to go off of. Bucky's definitely is obviously more interesting, because again, I'll wait till spoilers, but it's definitely more interesting. I was kind of thinking the 7 or an 8, and I think it was Matt who ultimately made me think, I think this is a 7. And I think it's because similar to how WandaVision, or really anything, it's just like it's starting this way and we don't have much to go off of yet. So maybe 2-3 episodes from now, maybe when we have a little bit more structure and a little bit more of a direction, maybe I would come back and say, you know what, I think that this segued into these story arcs very more effective than I would think right now. So maybe I'll come back and give it an 8. But I think right now it's safe to say it's a 7. It's good. I'm, comparing where I felt in the first really 2 episodes with WandaVision to what I'm feeling with this. I'm enjoying this more because it separates itself. It doesn't have this like what I can't think of the word. You know how WandaVision just kind of has its own like style. Like it's got a platform. It's got some type of structure. This one is definitely more of a traditional MCU title. Right. And so which is almost good and bad at the same time. Like sometimes the MCU, it's hard to remember what scenes are in what movies because they tend to kind of blend together in their styles being so similar. And not to say that it's bad. I mean, if some is good, more is better, but it's almost sometimes doesn't make it feel unique. And I guess that's kind of what you can say here. Whereas WandaVision, you can totally know that this type of scene or this whatever happened came from this. So, a 7. It's fine. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I mean, for sure. Not a terrible starter, but just didn't blow me away.
Cool. So let's go into spoilers. Spoilers for Falcon Winter Soldier. I do pose a question, though, as we are going into spoilers. And the only reason why I pose this question in spoilers is because the stuff that goes on. Do you guys feel that Bucky's story is a lot more interesting because we've had this build-up to this?
For sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Instead of Sam, because like you guys said, like Sam has been this like sidekick. Let's just call him a spade a spade. He's Steve's sidekick for a few of these movies, and so we're not really delved into like his backstory, where we spent since Winter Soldier kind of building Bucky's backstory, and where he's been since Captain America.
Had 2 movies about him,
right? Yeah. So, and then when we get to Falcon and Winter Soldier, we kind of understand and like feel where he's at emotionally and like in his whole headspace. And then we get this list of like I can't even remember what the list was called, but it was just basically like him crossing off to do good deeds or something. And that's why he's friends with that old Chinese guy, because I guess I shouldn't say accidentally, he like murdered his son for no reason. So he kind of like he has this kind of like repentance to go on.
Yeah, he was going all, my name is Earl.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like, yeah. I feel like his story is a lot more compelling because we already know Bucky. Whereas like we're still just kind of learning like who Sam is and like where like what his motivations are. I will say that I hope this being a 6-episode series that we don't get to episode 3 and they're finally together, because it's like this is literally what I've been watching this show for, is the dynamic between these 2 characters. I'll be highly upset. Plus, we got a new Captain America. Yay!
Yeah, see, that was the thing. I may have just totally missed something, but at the end of the episode where there's some new Captain America, are we supposed to know who that is?
No.
Okay. I was like, because I don't recognize the guy's goofy face.
Yeah, that's another thing. Why did they I don't think the dude's supposed to look goofy, but they definitely made this dude look super goofy in this outfit. He looked like straight up Carl from Up.
I think that
yes,
because
he did.
I think that might be because we've seen one person in that outfit.
That like perfectly square chin. I'm sorry, Ryan, not to interrupt.
No, I was just saying. I think it's because we've seen one person and one person alone wear that. So
we all know who that is, right?
Different.
Huh?
Yeah. Do you know who the actor is?
No.
That's
From
Wyatt
Overlord.
Russell.
Yeah.
Who?
Wyatt Russell.
Let's
You know
pretend
his
I
dad.
don't know who that is.
You know his father.
Oh, okay. I'd never heard of him before, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Matt. I think like he looks goofy, but I think that almost might be the point. I think next episode we're gonna learn maybe who it is, and like he's gonna be this guy, this like cheesy guy who kind of just took up the mantle, maybe for real, maybe just for show, and then we're gonna learn that he's just maybe some kind of dorky guy who yada yada yada. So I think that might be intentional, but I don't know.
Or are they gonna go like the Homelander route?
Oh geez, really? Oh, that would be interesting. I mean, obviously not to that extreme, but yeah, that could happen. I could see that happening. Actually,
I hate being the only
feel like
comic
that
book nerd in the room.
Huh?
Said I always hate being that one comic book nerd in the room.
I actually could totally see it going that way. Yeah, I mean, it's Homelander like, but it's also that kind of early 2000s like straight to either video or to Disney Channel like movie feel. Like there's always that guy who's like got that persona of like, I'm a good guy, to the public, and then you see him behind the scenes and he's really just a jerk. So who knows if that's going to happen. I would, if I'm going to have to guess, I would say that. But so that's a good guess for what that may be.
Can we go ahead?
No, I was just gonna say, I can't even remember the character's name, but isn't he like the straightforward American soldier version of Captain America? Like America's ideal version of Captain America, if he had stayed that way since 1942 and never changed.
Do you guys want me to really spoil it for you? That's why I'm saying, like, I hate being the one comic book nerd in the room.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you meant by that.
I mean, we're in spoiler territory. You can look up this character if you want to, but this is a TV show, and we don't know what direction they're going to go. Like, there were things in WandaVision that were, taken from the books, and they weren't really word for word what happened in the book. Right. So, I mean, you can say what you want because they're going to change. It's not going to be verbatim. They're going to change.
He's actually going to be building up to just another boner joke.
This is Steve Boner.
So this is John Walker. I believe that's his. I know.
Texas Ranger.
Yes, Texas Ranger.
Johnny Walker.
And I think he is a captain in the U.S. Army that is actually kind of forced into this role. Like they needed to replay in the books. There is a point where Captain America does die, and so they replace him with him, and they gave him the super soldier serum or whatever. But they kind of forced him in there because he was already under a military contract to begin with, and since Captain America, and that's what I'm kind of thinking that they're doing with this is because Rogers was kind of like this loose cannon and not really a part of the government per se. They're using John Walker, and he eventually becomes what's called U.S. agent. And so he's in the books. He's kind of this. I wouldn't really say an anti-hero, but he's not the nicest person. Like he's more like what Matt said. He's more Homelander, but not like that villainous. Because I don't think if I remember correctly, I don't think he actually becomes like a full-fledged villain, but he's not the sweetest guy to warm up to. So, he's
like the Punisher.
Yeah, more of that. Yeah, like he's kind of this like anti-hero-ish. And so that's where I'm guessing where they're going to go with this is that Sam and Bucky are going to be like, this dude is not Captain America. I think that's going to be one underlying aspect to this show, and that by the time this is over, Sam is going to prove that he actually deserves that shield more than Mr. Johnny Walker or whatever his name is. I can't remember. I can look it up now. So
yeah, go ahead, Matt.
No, you can go ahead, Alex. That's my thought.
I think honestly it's just going to be some third-party person who comes in who we've not really heard from before, and that person kind of takes up whatever mantle there may be. I think anybody's gonna really honestly end up with the shield? Maybe not. I don't know. but I think it's just gonna. I don't think it's gonna be like there's ABC. I don't think it's any of those guys. So
I would like to take this moment, especially after coming off WandaVision, how crazy or like messed up this government is between, you know, the army and Sword from WandaVision. You know, we have this cataclysmic like near blowing up the earth event, you know, where half the people of the, you know, the world, the universe disappeared, and then they finally come back after the blip, and you know everyone's aware of it because they know Vision died. Apparently they know there was a fight. I don't know if everyone knows about Thanos, or you know if that's been talked about in this world. But then you've got, you know, WandaVision, where they took Vision's body, they're putting them back together, they're trying to make a fake one even though he didn't want it. He didn't want that to happen, and they're pissing off Wanda and her little, you know, hex. And then you've got these guys over here in the army who, you know, Sam's like, here's Captain America's shield. I'm gonna put it in the Smithsonian so we can honor him. And then the army's like, you know what? Give me that shield back. We're gonna make another Captain America without even talking to Sam, by the way. Like after you gave him the shield, like there wasn't any talk between them. No one had a conversation. So I'm just like, after this event, you think they'd be a little more respectful to these heroes, but no, they don't care. They're all in it for themselves. Everyone's Hydra. Just kill everybody.
everyone's Hydra.
Very true.
You think after all this like crap, like, you know, between the aliens coming down and almost blowing up the earth, and then Ultron getting all wilding out overseas, and then, you know, people disappearing, half the population disappearing for 5 years, people be a little more respectful. But no.
Shameful.
They should all go shameful.
Shame.
Right. All right. We got any more thoughts on the Falcon and Winter Soldier?
That's why Nick Fury left, because he couldn't stand on Earth anymore. He's like, this place sucks. I'm gonna get on my ship and go to another place. I'm gonna take care of their problems.
I do have one other thought. Do you think that they implement what are they? Skrulls?
Yeah,
Skrulls.
Yeah. Do you think it's hard? It's so hard to tell. See, that was like Captain Marvel was okay. It was fine. It was actually better the second time I watched it. But I think one of the, speaking of Pandora's box earlier, I think one of the Pandora box effects that happened from that movie is the Skrulls, and they can, if anything maybe doesn't make sense in a story arc or something like that, they can just plug in a Skrull and somehow work it in there. And you know, that's always dangerous because that, you know, gives you the potential of lazy writing. Do we think that ever gets implemented in this? Who's to say?
In this one?
In this series, yeah.
Apparently, if they introduce something and it doesn't work out, they can just make a joke about it and say, we weren't planning anything big for any of these.
Boner joke.
It's true.
I don't know. I feel like we talked about, like when we first started talking about this, I feel this is going to be a little bit more grounded, where like this is going to be more espionage, like, you know, fighting terrorists, Captain America Winter Soldier-esque, where like WandaVision was kind of like this mixture between like Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange. It was just kind of like this weird kind of mix between the two of them because of the magical stuff, and because we know that Monica Rambeau is from Captain Marvel. So no, I would probably bet against the Skrulls making their appearance here. Though I will say that Feige has said that I guess this show is going to set up at least like 3 other things. So maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Going to set up nothing. And nothing's important. Nothing's sacred.
I'd say there's like a 35% chance that a Skrull appears in some form or another. Ha! No pun intended.
Yeah, I give it like 25. Yeah. But that's just me.
So it's Sam is actually a Skrull.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Watch that happen. Watch that happen.
Captain Skrull.
Yeah.
The scroll, the shield's a scroll.
All right, and that was Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we're going to close these MCU files. We actually reviewed a thing this week, something that's been out for what, 4 years now, apparently. So, question for the room: do we really need to give a synopsis to Zack Snyder's Justice League? I think we kind of understand what this movie was about.
I don't know.
So
Do we
maybe
have
like
4
a-
hours?
Maybe like a little bit of a backstory to how this got made for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty
think that's
sad.
important.
That's important. Okay, so a few years ago, Zack Snyder started making the Justice League, and unfortunately had a family tragedy that pulled him away from the film. And instead of actually waiting for Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers decided to hire Joss Whedon to finish because of his work on the first 2 Avengers movies, and he seemed to be a popular guy at the moment. So what ended up happening, though, is that Joss Whedon and Warner Brothers decided that they were going to remake or reshoot, I guess. What did they say? It was like 60 or 70% of the movie. So there was extensive reshoots that went into Justice League. And then in 2017, they released what I'm going to call the Whedon Cut. And so people got pretty upset with the Whedon Cut, saying that it was very, I don't know. What do you guys say? I did not like the Whedon Cut because it was a compiled mess. And Henry Cavill's green screened out mustache just looked bad. It looked really bad.
I think the most off-putting thing about that original version was the CGI. I don't know about you guys, but Steppenwolf by himself was easily the most distracting thing because of how poor he looked. Like how bad his illustration just looked. So, and then, but yeah, there is huge continuity issues in that. You're not given a whole lot of, like, the Flash isn't really introduced except for like a split second earlier in the show, in the movies. And then Cyborg really doesn't have, he's given like the most minuscule like amount of background information, and it really just is, all right, here's these pieces, shove them in this blender, and it just made a poor little yuck smoothie.
Well, to kind of give some retrospective, Whedon had cut down, his version was 2 hours.
Yes, exactly.
The version that we just watched was 4 hours. So yeah. So yeah, with the first one, there was a lot of just editing, a lot of reshoots, and a lot of inconsistencies throughout the whole movie that just kind of made the movie, let's face it, pretty bad. So with rumors then starting around about the same time that this came out that Zack Snyder had a lot of the movie already shot, that he had 80% of the movie shot, and then all he really needed to do was kind of finish some reshoots and the visual effects. The Twitter hashtag release the Snyder Cut started trending, and because HBO Max needed some content, they decided to give Zack Snyder $70 million to finish this. What was 30 that ballooned up to 70. He did do some reshoots. He famously said 4 minutes, which I think I can tell. You can tell with Ben Affleck specifically. You can tell his reshot stuff within the movie, which we'll get to later. So yeah, Zack Snyder then released this on the 18th, and now we have a 4 hour and 2 minute version of the Justice League. I will definitely say that this is much better than the Whedon Cut. Is it a good movie? You know what? You can definitely tell that this is basically, like, I've heard this a lot, that this is basically Snyder and Warner Brothers saying, okay, we're not leaving anything out, and this is why it's 4 hours long. Does it need to be 4 hours long? No, it does not. Is this more cohesive story? Yes, this is a much more cohesive story. The backstories and the background information that we were given for specifically Cyborg and the Flash and for Barry Allen does make the movie make a lot more sense. So when Justice League came out, if I was to give it like a rating, I'd probably give it like a 4. With this one, I'd probably give it a 7 just on cohesiveness alone. Like the storyline makes a little bit more sense. Like the characters make a lot more sense. But I don't think it needs to be 4 hours long. Like this is way too long. And yeah, this has, what did we say? It had like 10% of the whole movie was slow-mo.
Yeah. Which comes out to, right around 24 minutes of just literally of just slow-mo.
Of slow-mo. Why?
Zack Snyder, that's his thing.
I think 10% is a ratio for Zack Snyder that you'll find in almost every movie except for 300, which is probably higher. This movie is so long that the 10% is so long.
Yeah, so what, in a 2-hour movie, it would be like 10 minutes ish of slow-mo.
Yeah. So if I was to take a stab at this, if I was to actually say that they were going to release, like if this was going to be the actual cut of the original Justice League, I would probably guess this is going to be like a 2-hour and 45-minute movie. Because there was some stuff that they just didn't need to have that, like I said, Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers was like, you wanted it, now you got it. And you're going to have everything that we had plus 4 more minutes of whatever it was. And we'll talk, I guess, do we want to do spoilers for this? And just go spoilers? Like it's Justice League.
Maybe we get everybody's like initial thoughts, and then not spoilers because we already kind of know. But yeah, go into more depth.
Okay. Well then, yeah, I'd probably get this a 7.
I'll go next if nobody cares. Yeah, I agree with Clint. I think that this is vastly better than the original version. I mean, I don't think you'll find anybody on the planet who thinks that the original version was better than this.
Probably somebody named Josh.
Yeah, but nobody cares about him. Not right now, anyway.
Even Josh.
So it's but here's the thing. I think because people believed that Zack Snyder's was his footage, his version, his envisionment for this movie was better. I don't know. People, not myself, were scarred by Batman versus Superman. So I don't know how much they actually thought that, oh man, he deserves like this version. We need this version. But you know, and I think that the 4-hour mark is really just them saying, you know what, fans, like you believed in us. I mean, this was everything that we're not leaving anything behind the curtain. We're pulling out all the stops. We're putting everything out there. I mean, maybe not every single thing, but I mean, 4 hours is a ton of movie. You're talking about over an hour past Endgame, and that was incredibly long. Did it need to be that long? No, obviously not. There's some parts. I just said I don't want to talk spoilers. There is one scene that I thought was the goofiest scene that we didn't need. That includes Mr. Barry in this. And I think you guys will know what I'm talking about. It kind of takes place about, I think, an hour and a half into it, where he's applying for a job.
Oh, okay.
So that's all I'll say for right now. Yeah, totally didn't need that scene. In my opinion, I thought that was really, really weird. But I fairly enjoyed this a lot, even with its gargantuan runtime. I originally thought the first version was like a 6. I'd give this an 8. Like, it's hard to say if it's a really good, in my opinion, a really good movie on its own, you know, and not just comparatively really good. I loved the amount of backstory that was given for the Flash and Cyborg. We were giving like next to nothing with those guys in the original version. Now we actually have some depth, especially to Cyborg, and it's almost a shame because I believe I don't know the name of the actor. His name
Ray
is
Fisher.
Yes, Ray Fisher. Thank you.
We don't talk about Ray Fisher anymore.
Joss Whedon's favorite actor in the movie.
I know. We mentioned that, but it's almost a shame because his character, while the CGI sometimes looked a little bit goofy, I'll segue back to him in a second. One of the best things, and I mentioned it before, is that Steppenwolf would look horrible in the first one. This one, I thought he wasn't distracting looking. He kind of blended in with the environment. And I mean, obviously he's an illustration, but it looked more natural. It just didn't fit. It didn't feel out of place. And I was like, yes. And there was a comparison I saw on the on like Google, I think, that compared his original version and this version. And he looks like a straight up meme in the first one. And I'm like, yeah. So that alone made this definitely better. Going back to Ray Fisher, it's almost a shame that he's like, I'm not coming back. I mean, it is a shame, but it's not a shame because I think he had the most directional like flip of anybody in this. Like he got the most out of this. His character and his acting portrayal got the most out of this, in my opinion. But overall, I thought it was really good. I actually can't wait to buy this. Will I ever watch it? Well, not in one sitting, no. But I fairly like this a lot. Now the ending, it goes like this. It kind of starts beginning, you get a little bit backstory, and then the ending is, it's fine. There were moments where I was like, okay, I recognize that was still kind of goofy in this version, but this is kind of cool with this edition and everything. And I don't know if mentioning Darkseid is a spoiler.
No.
Okay.
He's in the trailer.
Okay, yeah. Absolutely awesome addition of just having him in there. I know he's not in it very much, but the fact that he's the big baddie, and even though they made Steppenwolf, he was like just a dumb character in the first one. Now he has a little bit more flesh to him, and even though he's still a lesser baddie, the addition of Darkseid is really like it made me want more. Honestly, I'm sad that we kind of got this because I want to know where it goes, and I honestly don't think that'll ever happen with where everybody's careers are going. Those that played the main characters. So I'm not gonna take up any more of my review time for this. So 8 out of 10. I really liked it. I can't wait to own it if it ever does release in a physical copy. I would imagine that it would, but yeah, 8 out of 10. If you have about a week's worth of segmented times to watch this, watch it. It's better.
Will they, won't they?
I think so, but that's to be determined.
I can go. Yeah, I really like this. I did it all in one sitting. We took about a 5-minute break, and I really like long movies, so this wasn't a huge problem. There were definitely some scenes I got a little restless, and I agree. If this had gotten to theaters, I think it would be no longer than 3 hours 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I could see him pushing for a really long movie, and I could see it probably doing well and maybe bringing long movies back. But whatever. We can't have nice things. Yeah, and there were definitely things to be cut. I think for this Snyder cut, this was the only way to go, was just to release everything. So I absolutely understand the intention. But that said, there are scenes that are a little different where I'm just like, this is not important. And there's a couple of those, and I don't want to say until it gets too spoilery, that were actually really distracting. That I was like, this should have been cut even from this version. Now, again, that goes against what I just said. Release it all. Sure, that's fine. I really liked almost everything in it, though. There were a lot of really nice changes. Obviously, everything we talked about so far. And the biggest surprise is the pacing for a 4-hour movie was significantly better than the movie half the time. It was competent, but still exciting. Could not believe how much better handled it was, thanks to things like character development and emotional storylines, and not making your plot development, oh, Batman's hunting a bug that's hunting somebody because he's afraid, and then he sees the pattern on a wall that looks like 3 boxes, so he starts to figure out the plot. It doesn't make any sense. Couple of my favorite changes. I love Danny Elfman, but his score in the original was really bad. Not bad on its own. If you listened to it and didn't know what it was accompanying, it'd be a fun, nostalgic callback. But fun, nostalgic callback to the original Batman and Superman themes are not at all what this movie needed. Hearing Tom Hulkenberg with a couple pieces from Hans Zimmer kind of carry out the trilogy, because it was Zimmer for Man of Steel, the two of them for Batman and Superman, and then Hulkenberg for this one. Really good stuff, with a couple notes of exception that were really annoying.
Yeah.
But we talked about it earlier. The cues for Wonder Woman are really annoying, but I listened to the whole score by itself. It's much more paced out. I just wasn't ready for it every single time. So I think on a second watch it should be nicer. And then the color grading. My least favorite thing about Justice League is the color. It's like someone opened any basic editing program, your Sony Vegas, put in Justice League, opened a secondary color corrector, and said, you know what? I want all 3, background, foreground, and midground, red. And the whole finale is just going to be as red as possible because color. And I'm like, that's not how color works. You can't just turn your movie red. And the desaturated look, I really missed it. It works really well as a trilogy. And that kind of brings me to the whole thing I loved about this movie, is that it opens in a fashion that Batman v Superman did, kind of bridged with the last one, and it wraps up this trilogy really well. It makes me sad that we're not going to get any more, but if we got more, it made me very hopeful that we get. It made me want more from these movies, and that's a good note to end on. And then there's like 30 more minutes that really dragged me down from like a solid 8 or 9 to a single 7, because I was like, okay, well, we'll get a couple more scenes to wrap up. And Alex, you said it was like the Return of the King, and I was ready for it. I was like, we got the big conclusion. Now we'll get a couple scenes. And then there was another scene I was like, okay, this should have been cut. And then there was another scene I was like, okay, this is stupid. I will get back to those. So it ended just on the wrong note for me. Just on the wrong note. And if it had been in theaters, that would have been after the credits. That's fine. They probably should have put them after the credits in this. I don't count post-credit scenes as part of the movie. So it would have ended on a nice note, wrapped up, and it could have been one of my favorite movies of the year. It might still be, but that last note was just so rough for me. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I still give it a solid 7. I would watch it again.
I'm not to cut into Matt's time here, but I thought the same thing, and then somebody I was watching it with referenced something else, and it'll make more sense, sort of. You'll appreciate it more, is what I'm saying. So yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I have so many emotions about this. We talked about this. We've been talking about this movie for the cut of this movie for 8 months now, almost a year. So yeah, we had our homework. So I decided to watch Justice League. And then once I was done, I decided to watch Justice League, the Whedon cut. And hereby I'm dubbing, we're getting rid of the Snyder cut, guys. There's no Snyder cut. This is the actual Justice League movie.
Yeah.
We're calling, like you said, Clint, we're calling the other one the Whedon cut. And this is the Justice League. It's like they took the Justice League movie and they were like, hey, can we make this more like a Marvel movie? And then you get the Whedon cut. That's what you get. This movie, I understand Zack Snyder, where he's coming from. I'm sure this movie's 4 hours, but they gave him so much money to put a film out. Of course, he's going to use every little bit of footage he has. He's like, you know what? I'm going to throw this in here. 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 And to his credit, like Ryan said, the pacing of this film is great, except for that Return of the King ending. It doesn't get boring. Even with all the slow-mo, it doesn't drag really at all. I mean, sure, there's a couple goofy things, but there's a ton of goofy things in the Whedon cut. It's not a perfect film. It's definitely not a perfect film, but is it a much better film? Yes, it's a much, much better film. Whether it's, actually making characters out of the Flash and Cyborg, are actually making characters out of your antagonists. Making Steppenwolf a lackey as opposed to like the big bad was infinitely better for this. Infinitely better. The fact that this version of the film is, I'm trying to think of the right adjective I want to use. I don't want to say vicious, but there's definitely peril in here. There's definitely danger in this movie as opposed to the last one. These characters are getting their butts kicked or in danger the entire time. You don't really get that, I don't think, from the Whedon cut. You make Flash and Cyborg integral parts of this film. You don't focus, oh man, Wonder Woman did great, let's focus on Wonder Woman. You make her part of the Justice League. You don't make her like the central character of this. You have to give other characters their due, and that's what this film does. It's good, man. I think a 7 is probably the wheelhouse, and I think that everyone that you said, everybody here said 7, and I think that's the perfect score because it is flawed. Yeah. Oh, you gave it an 8? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's around there. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I did watch the Whedon cut right after I watched Justice League, and there's literally only one scene that I think works better in that, and I'll talk about that. Actually, it's not really a spoiler, but the scene where they're talking about bringing Superman back, I think it works better in the Whedon cut, the way that they approach it. Like it has a good pacing in the Snyder version or the Justice League version. It just isn't as funny. It doesn't make as much sense, I don't think, than it does in the Whedon cut. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. And the thing that irritates me the most is that it opens up this huge, interesting world, and it makes all these characters interesting. And I'm with Ryan in this boat, is that now I'm more invigorated. I want more of this world. In fact, this movie actually made me want to go back and watch, Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman again, just to, see where these characters, how they got to this point. And that's crazy because I'm not a huge fan of either one of those movies. But this movie itself made the whole world seem interesting. And now I'm sad because we're not going to get anything else after this. This is what we're going to get. So it is what it is. Zack Snyder, man, props to you, sir. You didn't really have anything. You weren't risking anything putting this out. I mean, you don't deserve a huge amount of claps, but you put out a good product. And I think most people, if you don't like this, I mean, I understand. If you like the happier, Marvel-y joke every other second and goofy look of the Whedon cut, that's fine, whatever. But this one, as far as the tonality of those 3 films, and even Wonder Woman to an extent, it's good and it works way better. So yeah, 7 out of 10. And you guys can speak spoilers now if you want to.
Spoiler. Shoot, what? I just had a thought. So somebody else say something and it'll probably come back to me.
I like how they decided to make Steppenwolf a great character. Not that they went back and retrospectively. He was like a compelling character. And I like that in this version, he's like an interesting character. But then they introduced Darkseid, who's basically Steppenwolf, as a big, bland, generic villain. It's like, oh, whatever. You got 1 out of 2 now. At least instead of 0 out of 1, you got 1 out of 2.
Well, yeah. I hearken it back to my favorite villains in cartoons, mind you, or the lackey, or the person who's kind of whiny and tough, or not even always tough, people like Starscream and Transformers, or Cobra Commander kind of in G.I. Joe, or even maybe Vegeta to an extent, probably in Dragon Ball Z. And that's what I get from Steppenwolf, is he's that kind of lackey, whiny guy, but he's still tough and he's still interesting. And then you just have his big boss guy that's behind him that's just hulking. What I don't understand, and one of my biggest gripes that's not the Return of the King endings for this film is what happens to Steppenwolf, which I thought was pretty aggressive for these characters. I didn't realize that's the direction. I don't know if that was the appropriate direction to go with, even though I said I enjoyed the viciousness or the perilness of this film. I just don't know if Wonder Woman would have done that. In fact, I went and Googled to see the times that Wonder Woman has done that type of thing, and there's literally only 10 times that she is, I guess we're in spoilers, murdered somebody. So it is what it is.
Yeah,
that was a little weird to me.
It's funny you say that, because I remember I actually don't remember us talking about the rating of this movie before going into it. We probably have. I just don't remember. And I'm like, and they're dropping, a couple F-bombs here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, I guess over the span of 4 hours, I don't know if it's like the rating goes by the number of F-bombs you have in your movie in total, or it's, how many you have in this amount of time. And then, okay, it only is once happening in that time. That's technically considered one part of the movie. Then you go into the second part of the movie and then you drop another one. Is it still PG-13?
No, because the King's Speech got away with a PG-13 cut by cutting like one brief scene. And there's still some language in that one.
Okay. But also, Ryan, you mentioned color. I'm thinking similarly, but not entirely the same. I remember in the Whedon cut, their costumes and standing side by side was so like almost like a circus kind of deal. Like they didn't blend together well at all. They all look so like sore thumb after sore thumb after sore thumb. And this one, I don't remember, other than maybe like one instance where they were like really in a tight scene in like a still shot together. But even when that did happen, they didn't like it wasn't an eyesore to look at. Like it's kind of like, well, with Marvel, it's like everybody has their unique outfit, but the color scheme and the filters put on those different scenes, it makes them blend together and not totally stick out. Like they each have their own uniqueness, but they don't like, I'm obviously Superman, I'm obviously the Flash. That was an insanely irritating thing of the first movie, and this totally mellowed that part out and so effectively. And I think that also has something to do with it, with just the saturation being done better and the overall color filter being way done, just phenomenally better. I don't know if I want to be the first one to mention that the actual specifics of that last scene / post-credit scene. I mean, it's not post-credit, but it is post-credit. Ryan, have you ever played Injustice: Gods Among Us?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there is a whole alternate kind of like timeline where Superman actually like goes insane because Lois Lane is killed in some way or another, maybe by one of the other Justice League members, maybe not, I'm not sure. And it goes off into a like post-apocalyptic like type of scene where Superman is like a psychopath, and he's like basically grieving and just taking it out on everybody else. And so you have those scenes sometimes where you have Batman and the Joker and all these, odd couplings of people acting together. Now, does that mean that scene is totally perfect and like totally organic? No, but it's effective if you know that and you have that knowledge kind of going into it, and it's really interesting to see that cinematically fleshed out. I liked Jared Leto in that little scene. Does it make a whole bunch of sense? It's fine. Again, it's that whole post-apocalyptic timeline, but I liked it. I think it was oddly placed. After basically doing an entire marathon of a movie, you have this kind of long scene that may or may not add to it as a entire film. I don't know. Could I have done without it? Sure, but was it an interesting little nugget at the end? Yeah, I liked it. I would have probably rather have it than not, just to so I can't say, oh, hey, what's that part? Maybe that would have been better. Just having the know of that. So
I wish they had just put that scene at the end. That is obviously the 4-minute scene they've shot. And I actually was talking with someone today who was reading an article that was they said that apparently they shot that scene in like Zack Snyder's backyard. And I think it's, and like I gotta give credit. I guess if that's true, that it doesn't look any worse, but I think it looks really bad. The way it's shot, the way it cuts, the way it's written, and the weird, consistent out of focus close-ups of Jared Leto.
Yeah,
it's like I mean, and again, I feel bad saying this. It looks like a student film. It looks like someone's doing like a little like, oh, we're gonna do a fan-made trailer for this upcoming post-apocalyptic film, and it feels like that. It's written like that. Everyone's like talking in weird allusions about things that have happened, but these are the characters in the movies. They know what's happened, so there's no need to say like, oh, they'll pay what they did to Arthur. And I'm like, yeah, but we know, like you guys are just saying that for the audience. The whole scene felt like it was for the audience, and then it's followed by another scene with what I deem the most unimportant element of the movie, which is Martian Manhunter, who adds nothing to the film.
You know what? I want to disagree, but I think you're right on that. The Manhunter part.
Yeah. And that's why I wish they had taken I mean, like, I get that they wanted to do it, and it feels like a Jared Leto redemption scene, and I'm on board for that. I think he did fine. I'm like, you know what? I'd be okay with keeping Jared Leto, seeing how he evolves the character. I think they should just cut the scene and drag it to the end of the credits. Keep it because you did it, but yeah, that was what killed it for me. It was just that scene at the end, and the weird. So Martha goes and visits Lois, and they have a nice heartfelt scene, and then it's Martian Manhunter. Okay.
Yeah.
They call me Martian Manhunter. Like, really, man? You got other names. You can pick another one, man. You don't have to. That's just a little. You're meeting this guy for the first time. You really want to tell him your name is Manhunter?
Yeah, I've always thought that was an odd name to begin with.
Well, I thought that they would have done this whole Wanda Maximoff thing where he would have been like, my name's John Jones or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like he would have earned this Martian Manhunter monkey or moniker or whatever. But yeah, the inclusion of Martian Manhunter was a little off-putting for me. I will also say that it took way too long for Superman to be in this movie. Like 3 hours and like 10 minutes.
I kind of disagree because I feel like he is the overpowered end all of this movie, and that's what you're trying to get to. You can't really have him in a lot of the movie because he instantly makes the movie over. He is the end of the movie when he is back. He literally rocks Steppenwolf. Like, there's not even a contest. It's like done.
Right.
So
the only other thing is like I appreciated the level up of characterization for Cyborg, even Wonder Woman. Like, you kind of get a little bit more of her story in Aquaman and like the other characters. I did not like how they kind of like made Affleck a little different as Batman.
He seemed more, I don't want to say positive, but he seemed more like not happy-go-lucky. Maybe positive is the best thing. Like,
anybody else think he like looked smaller, like physically smaller?
Lighting.
Oh, there you go.
The suit wasn't gray.
The reshoots,
yeah, that's what I'm
cleaned
saying.
up. Yeah, he was clean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can tell his reshoots because like even like that whole nightmare scene, like if you look close enough, that mask doesn't fit his face. You can tell, like they kind of like wiggled it, or like, you know,
you could probably see like gaps between the skin and like empty space.
It's because they had just got that at Party City.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, like his characterization, I couldn't get on board with. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I was spoiled by Bale and like his brooding. Like, I need my Batman to be like a little more negative. Why? I personally thought it was refreshing. I thought it was interesting, like, to have him be that person, the optimist, to like after he's gone through that past movie and the crap that's happened, I guess he's finally turned that leaf over and he's like, you know what? I could get my ass kicked by Superman. We have Superman here. So I should probably be happier about this or be nicer about this. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was, and I enjoyed it because it was different, and I can see why it would be off-putting to you if you were used to the other one.
I think I think it worked for the story. I kind of got the feeling that he didn't really want to be team leader, but he felt obligated to kind of put this team together. And then later on in the movie, he's like, "This is Alfred," and just kind of moves on. And I'm like, "Yeah, you're kind of trying to phase yourself out of it." And at the end, he's like, "I'm going to make the self-sacrificial play and let you guys do all the rest of the stuff by yourselves, so I can be a loner." So I think he's getting back to.
Yeah. I will, some of the inclusion stuff, I'm going to have to go with Ryan on the whole nightmare scene. I can understand why they put it in there because it is supposed to set up like this was supposed to be like the first of like 3 Justice League movies. And the whole pregnancy thing was supposed to, I guess he said like this week that it was supposed to be like their son is supposed to be the new Batman, which I guess kills Affleck apparently. I don't know. And the whole Jesse Eisenberg Deathstroke. That whole scene was supposed to set up Affleck's Batman movie, and like I can definitely see, like you guys said, where he was going with this. Like you can definitely see that this whole Snyderverse, DCEU, this was like the jumping point for all these movies, and you get like the Flash movie and. I can't remember who said that they didn't like the Flash scene with Iris.
I was actually going to mention that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can see why you say that, but she's kind of important. But I think that if they cut it down a little bit, like I could understand like keeping it in, but just kind of like moving parts around that make a little bit more sense.
Maybe not setting it to like a 2004 Evanescence ripoff song.
Yeah, right. No, see, that's the thing, Clint. Yeah, I think the characters are important and the story elements are important, even though it's obviously just that one scene. I think I was just more off put by the editing of that. Obviously, that's to like showcase his powers before he's really ultimately ready to reveal them. So, I mean, that seems pretty obvious. That's the whole intention of that scene. But I think it was just a little long. Like it's all almost entirely slow motion. And I was like, okay, that was the one scene I needed. Like, come on, you need to let's speed this up. And the CGI, like I don't know who the actress is for her, but she looked
Clemens.
Yes, thank you. She looked awful when she was like in midair in slow motion, where the hot dog cart got flipped over, and they try to add humor because I believe and he's like distracted by hot dogs because I believe in the comic books, the Flash his like favorite snack or favorite food is hot dogs, from what I was told. So they were trying to add humor to it, and I appreciate that, but I think it was too long, and that was like the one moment in the entire movie where I just was like, that CGI looked so bad. Otherwise, a much more improved movie. I think the main person who suffers from this more than gains is Aquaman. I even though they put a little bit more background into this, I felt like I was just kind of watching extended scenes from literally the movie Aquaman more than I was getting more background information from him. So it's like it didn't really add much. And then towards the end of the movie, he's got his moments, but
he doesn't
comparatively
as much.
Exactly. He's just not. He doesn't have much to do with the rest of the movie that the rest of the league has. So, am I mad about that? No, because overall it's a much better movie. Go ahead.
Hopefully in the next Justice League movie they can fight in the ocean, and that way he'll have a little more to do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, where a shark has one of the boxes. No, I think it's because of that that whole injustice thing that I appreciate the end scene for what it is. I think I would actually want more of that. Is it shot a little weird? Yes. Ryan nailed it with that out of focus thing. I was just like, is that supposed to be like that? That's got to be like what they intended, but that's really weird, and I think that they shouldn't have done that. But otherwise, yeah, it's that one hot dog scene. It's just I'm good without it. If you'd have taken that and just kind of trimmed it down to maybe like probably cut that in half, I think that'd have been even more effective. So
Got a half the hot dog.
half the hot dog. No, he'd have just been like bun, and then
I enjoyed it. I love those scenes because it brings back that whole Quicksilver effect that we got from Evan Peters in those X-Men movies. So I thought it was cool. Can you guys refresh me, because I watched those movies back to back? Is the Justice League, and I'm going to say Snyder just so we don't get confused, is the scene where Batman tells him to just save one person, is that in the Snyder cut or is that in the Whedon
It's
cut?
not.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember
Rachel. Yeah, I remember we were watching it, and Rachel said, she was like, I really missed that line. And I was like, I kind of do too. It was cheesy.
No, but my point is, and I can't remember if I enjoyed the aspect of this movie. I like the thought of Flash being already kind of powered up a little bit, which he is in this movie, already kind of like hip to the ways of running around and saving people and doing stuff for like the benefit of other people. Like, I don't need that him learning to be a superhero in my 2-hour movie. I like that. And it makes him a more important character, I think, which, he reverses time, oddly enough, in this film, which is a little ridiculous when you think about it, but whatever. Superman can do it. He can do it. So
Twice.
Yeah.
If you count the Donner cut.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I thought that was cool. I like him being it made me excited for the Flash film now, unless the Flash film's a prequel, which I'm not sure if it will be or not.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. I think you nailed it on the head. The Quicksilver from which one is it? Because I don't watch that. Yes. I don't really watch this, so I don't know. But I've seen that scene a number of times, just kind of floating around on like Facebook and YouTube, and they can have slow-mo and still not make it like a complete drag. So that's if they'd have done it like that, maybe my rating would have gone up to a 9. Who knows? But one thing that didn't change, and I don't think you could have done anything to change this, is that speaking of the Flash, why does he run like he's got arms that are like wet noodles? Oh, this makes my speed increase.
Because he's fluid, man.
Yeah, man.
He doesn't run like Tom Cruise.
He runs like Eric Liddell.
I think it's to not make those scenes stagnant, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I guess in his mind, this is more appealing to the eye and more, I guess, attractive than just some guy going.
Especially in slow motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
so I mean, like, it's goofy looking, but I guess in creative liberties tend to make you think, okay, I need to do it this way, and maybe in retrospect it needed to be done that way. It still looks goofy. I'm not going to say it doesn't look goofy, but
so speaking of creative liberties, one thing I noticed, we talked about earlier, Snyder has a lot of his Snyderisms. I'm going to say a negative thing about Zack Snyder's directing here, because obviously he does his like, I'm Martian Manhunter, just like in Batman Superman. They were like, here's all these superheroes that are going to be Avengers, and Lex Luthor's created their team logo or their individual team logos already. And this one, I like how his propensity to create property damage continues. Whereas we have the argument like maybe Superman could have moved the fight away from Metropolis or not. And then Batman Superman, they're like, oh, don't worry, the docks are evacuated. And this one, like, Wonder Woman's like, I'm going to save this bank from blowing up. Let me blow up half the bank.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That felt a little unnecessary.
Like, I will say that scene, like, it's still kind of weird to me, like how she moves that fast. Like, it was just kind of like that whole scene. I think they probably could have done without the guns. I don't know, but yeah, that was still weird. Weird looking. But yeah, I don't know about the whole Martian Manhunter thing. Like, I feel like like it probably deserved to be cut out of this because it really, like you said, Ryan, it really doesn't do anything to anything. Like he kind of shows up to Bruce Wayne and he's like, "I'm the Martian Manhunter," and you're like,
Well,
"Cool, all right, I'll see you later."
Not to interrupt, but would that cut be the Zack Snyder cut?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think you're just getting his vision because you have the scene with Martian Manhunter earlier in the film where it's like he's actually manipulating things behind the scenes, except not participating in the biggest fight of the universe at the end, which is kind of weird. And then he just shows up and he's like, "All right, guys, I'm here now. I'm ready to help." I'm like, man, couldn't you have shown up like a few days ago when we were almost blowing up the entire planet? That'd have been nice of you, man.
No, I trusted you guys. I totally don't remember the Flash reversing time. Was that only in this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they do in the original Justice League. They've got like the picture of Jonathan Kent like following the ooze, but then that never matters. So in this one, it actually like it shows it, like when it goes back up, it shows it because it was gonna be like, oh, the mother box can go back up, but that can just be acting weird. So there's nothing literal for the audience to grasp why it's going backwards. Except they left the shot of the picture falling in the movie anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened a ton in this movie. I was just trying to remember. Okay, was this scene in there? No. This wasn't in there. Yeah, this is. I don't remember this, but was that different? No, there was a lot of that going on.
And if the scenes were in there, they were sometimes they were incredibly different.
Oh yeah,
completely different. Like I mentioned before we got into spoilers, the scene where they're talking about the scene starts off with Cyborg actually giving the history of the box, which we don't know in the Whedon cut. The box just kind of appears, but he actually says what happens to it, that the Nazis found it, and then it got put in the Lost Ark storage room, and then it finally so it finally comes out. But then they're like, it can change things, and then they go, is anyone thinking what I'm thinking or whatever? And then Cyborg like puts the hologram of like Superman like standing up. That scene, albeit the backstory of the box is great, but it plays out so much better in the Whedon version. I hate it so much that's the part that I really, really enjoy in the Whedon version that they should have put in here, because in the Whedon version, he does the whole, like, he has to have pop culture references always because that's Joss Whedon. That's what he does. But they have Flash like talking about, have any of you guys seen Pet Sematary? Do we really want to bring Superman back? They're actually most of them are against bringing him back because they don't know what's going to happen. But in this movie, they're like, we need to bring him back. We don't care. We're just going to bring him back. Whatever.
Right. Which is funny because I think that like that whole scene sets up him coming back and then like him being like, upset that he's awake or whatever, and then like they have to like take him out. You know what I mean? So
which is way better in the Snyder cut, by the way. That whole fight scene, infinitely better,
right?
In his version, which is like definitely.
Yeah.
You watch it.
In my opinion, I don't remember a lot from the first one. It felt like the same fight to me, but you probably know it. They're
the same, but there's more stuff added, which makes it way more vicious and way more dire in the Snyder cut. If you watch the Whedon cut, you'd be like, what? That's okay. That's not as like the Snyder one is way more intense. It keeps the good stuff from the Whedon one, but it just makes it way more intense.
Yeah. Plus, there's no Superman asking Batman, "Do you bleed?" He's human. Of course, he bleeds.
No, it's Superman. It's Superman using his laser vision to almost incinerate Batman, which isn't in the Whedon version at all. And that's like the best part. It's like, oh my God, he's really gonna murder this dude straight up.
Ryan, I mean, I get your gripe about that, but I think that's not it's a rhetorical question. Like, hey, you asked me this when you were trying to beat me down.
But are you defending a callback to Batman v Superman?
I mean, yeah, because I liked it. So
yeah,
I don't know. I thought it was a silly thing. As like Clark's out of it or he's not. But if he's out of it, he's not going to remember specifically what to say back to Batman. He's just
oh man, he's out of it, but he's got those one-liners, dog. Check out that comeback.
Yeah. So I mean, while I appreciate that too, I'm also on the same boat of I don't need it. I just am not bothered by it. I would prefer this more than I would the entirety of that scene from the Whedon cut.
I think how that scene really should have gone is Superman should have tried to kill Batman, and Batman should have been like, Martha, we have to save Martha.
Martha, yeah.
Just right
Martha,
back at him.
Martha.
I know, that's his like version of Uncle.
Just tap out.
Yeah.
Right.
Martha. Oh. Man, Clark, gotta not be so rough with me, man.
Can we also take a second to say how stupid man is in this film, where you got 3 boxes, you give one to like the people in the sea, and they're like, take this sea beast and take it into the ground. And then you give it to like the Amazonians, and they're like, we're going to build this huge temple that seals up and falls in the ocean. And you give it to like humans or like man, and they're like, let's bury it 3 feet in the ground.
Yeah.
I feel
nobody
like
can get there.
I don't know what it is.
This is in my backyard.
And there was a lot to me that felt like Lord of the Rings in this, which I really enjoyed. How the 4-hour epic.
No, definitely.
Yeah. That prologue felt like the One Rings, where it was like, the elves are going to take care of theirs, and the dwarves are going to kind of hoard theirs a little bit, and the men are going to become evil immediately.
Yeah.
Good point.
Bury it in their backyard. So yeah, I think this movie just kind of goes to prove that if you waited long enough for Snyder to kind of like either like a couple of things before I'm gonna try and like cohesively say this. I think that this just goes to prove that like Marvel trusting their directors and just trusting their vision and trusting where they're going to go with it is going to be beneficial in the end. I think that DC panicked, or Warner Brothers kind of panicked, and they wanted to bring in somebody that was a little bit more seasoned with the superhero stuff, and it didn't work. And also kind of like I said, it was going to go to show that like X-Men Last Stand, if you wait long enough and kind of like put this on hold and let Snyder kind of like deal with his personal issues and stuff like that, and just allowed him to do what he was going to do to begin with, I think like Matt, you said, like it, and Ryan, is that I think the DCEU would have been better for it. Because then we would have gotten that Deathstroke versus Batman movie. Then we would have gotten the Flash movie probably a lot sooner than it is coming out now. Probably got on a Cyborg movie. Aquaman probably would have made a little bit more sense. Not saying that Aquaman was bad, but it kind of gives you a little bit more backstory on Aquaman. And with Cavill, I'm going to say it probably until I die. I don't think that he got a fair shake at this. I think this would have proven that he would have had like another movie coming. I think they probably would have greenlit something for him. Do I understand your point, Matt? Yeah, I do. I after hearing what you're saying, yeah, it is kind of game over once you resurrect him. And yeah, 3 hours into the movie seems like the perfect time to resurrect Superman.
Yeah.
But I think that like, given that like if they would have just waited for him, it probably would have gone a whole lot better, and this whole universe would have probably been better for it. So
the question is, would we have gotten a Wonder Woman 1984?
Probably not. Probably not.
Who cares?
I mean, like,
you can ignore that movie one way or the other.
I was just saying I want to live in the world where that movie didn't come out, so that's where I want to go back.
I think what I'm more thinking of is, would we have a sequel? Oh, for sure. But would it be 1984? Let's pretend. No, Clint. Yeah, I think that speaks volumes. Because, I mean, we're living in a world now where delays have been, I mean, hopefully up until recently, have been a common thing. Delay. Things are getting like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And so it's like everything's like that. Now, obviously, everybody's kind of being forced to do that. Whereas, it's just, we'd have to stop it for this one guy as opposed to in the entire country. But, it's like that's a huge ball that was dropped by Warner Brothers, because I mean, yeah, it's like, oh man, that didn't, we're not going to get Justice League Part 2 or Justice League 2 or blah blah blah. No, we're not getting an entire realm of superhero movies. We're not getting Cyborg. We're not getting another Superman. We're not ever getting that Batman, standalone movie that Affleck. Honestly, when I first heard about Affleck being Batman, I was like everybody else. I was like, no, it's dumb, it's stupid. I mean, again, I'm showing my taste for not great movies. I actually don't mind Daredevil. I don't think it's a terrible movie. Is it great by any standards? Oh, no. But it's enjoyable to me. And I think he deserved a fair shake at being Batman, like you say Cavill does for Superman. I mean, Cavill actually technically got his shot, sort of, not really. I agree with you, but he got even more of a shot than Affleck ever did, because he never had his standalone movie. And so it in fact a huge part of the DCU. I mean, honestly, not letting this man deal with his personal issue and just postponing this. I mean, when was this supposed to have come? Does anybody know when it was supposed to release, or not supposed to release? What the release date would have been had they just let Snyder been able to keep his edits, deal with his personal life and keep going? Would it have been a summer the next year kind of thing?
I think they would have put it back a whole year.
Yeah,
because I know the MCU was pretty stacked. Like Black Panther came out that February and took took Justice League's entire box office revenue in one weekend.
Yeah, I mean, so in that regard, I can kind of understand where Warner Brothers is coming from. Like, I mean, obviously it's a business, and while that obviously is a very sad thing that happened, delaying something for a whole year where it's not a pandemic related thing, it's like, like it's not the best business strategy. Like, I get it, but they've obviously not established themselves in recent memory as being best with financial decisions, with the whole Tenet releasing when it did, and then now going back with this whole dual release of theater and HBO Max with everything this year, or however it is, or however it's going to be. They've shown to drop the ball a little on this, or pick up a ball that they didn't need to when they should have just maybe. I understand, because Marvel, like, what, that would have been 2018 when this would have released, yes? Or
17. Well, if the theoretical release would have been 18. Its actual release was November or October 2017.
Okay, so yeah, it would have
2017.
Yeah, so it would have been, Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas time around 2018. And, they're already in Marvel's shadow as far as, feature quality. So, like, obviously in retrospect, we can all say, man, they totally messed up. But at the same time, I totally get where they're coming from, and they needed to make a decision with this. And at the time, none of us knew about Joss Whedon's, well, none of us, outside of the actual group involved, knew about his psychoticness. And, we can all say it's a bad decision now, since we didn't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about Warner Brothers. This is the biggest movie that they had on the slate for like 10 years. I mean, this is the culmination of like that, these properties. And they had so much money invested in this. They needed to have something come out. They had to have something come out. They couldn't wait any longer.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, with the Snyder cut, with the Justice League, he's not risking anything putting this out. If his version had come to theaters, if we'd gotten that, you guys are absolutely right. The movie would have been 3 hours long, maybe a little over that. They would not have released a 4-hour movie in theaters. We would not have got that. So, I mean, what we're getting here is just him putting together everything that he has and putting it all with no risk on the line. And we don't have to go to a theater. We already got HBO. we're not risking any money to really watch it because we're already paying for the service. So, I mean, we're not risking anything or except maybe 4 hours of our time. I guess that's something that we're putting on the line. But I mean, it was just a Hail Mary, or, you know, there's really, if he'd put this out and people hated it, it's water under the bridge, man. No one's really lost any money. They've all watched it. So it is what it is. I think it was just kind of a Hail Mary for you. I don't think this is the product we probably would have gotten in 2017. So.
No, I think they probably would have cut it down a lot more. But I think that, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and they would have added more Wonder Woman, because there's a way more Wonder Woman in the Whedon cut scenes with her and Batman in that version than there are in this cut and the Snyder version. And the Snyder version 4 hours or 2 hours longer. So
yeah. I just, you know, I just kind of like think back, like Warner Brothers has always had this universe. Like they've always owned DC, so it's kind of sad that they, like, their first at bat, they kind of like screwed this, because they could have been doing this the whole time, and they could have had their own, like Marvel probably could have been trying to catch up to them. So I think that's kind of sad, but yeah, like you were saying, Alex, in retrospect, could have they waited or whatever? Could they have put this out? Should have they put this out? All your points are valid, Matt. Your points are valid. I still think that they probably should have just waited, trusted Snyder and like what they were gonna do, and just kind of like bit the bullet and been like, look, we're behind Marvel anyway. I mean, I just think that there's got to be someone inside of DC that just kind of like takes the reins to this, because let's face it, like the DCEU is a mess. Yeah. And like Marvel is, I don't know, won the jackpot with a producer that knows what he's doing.
Well, and I like the movie, obviously. Batman versus Superman also was a Snyder direction, but it obviously didn't do that well at the box office. And so you're entrusting this guy to, you know, take on this obviously bigger feature. And it's almost like, hey man, we can't let you screw this one up too. So we need to get something done. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we've entrusted you in this, and this is way more important. I get, not way more important, but it's got a big value on it. So there also should have been the thought of, we don't want to rush this. This needs to be, if all this stuff leading up to it is kind of meh, kind of garbage, you know, maybe not that bad, but it's still not great. If it leads up to this awesome gem that can kind of, you know, even more retrospect, make those even look better, then maybe we need to, you know, slow down and, you know, get quality over a rapid release, like just have something out there, like,
right.
So, you know, I can see the perspective from both sides. So right. I get it.
Because I think they, you know, looking at it, they're probably like reverse MCUing this, because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then it's like Justice League, and Justice League was supposed to spider out into like all these different, like it was supposed to introduce each of these characters. That's why we get an hour of Barry Allen flipping cars or talking to his dad and all this other stuff, and you get like a whole like backstory of Cyborg and everything. So I can see that they're reverse MCUing this, where it's like it's the Justice League, the team up movie is actually supposed to spider out into everything else. So yeah, I completely agree with you, Alex, where if they knew that that's what this was going to do, don't try and pull somebody in with a completely different vision, because let's face it, taking all of his discretions aside, you know, Whedon has a completely different style tonally and, you know, artistically than Zack Snyder, where it's like you almost want to be like, okay, well, Zack Snyder and then kind of like a Fincher, like you want to grab somebody that kind of has that type of tone instead of bringing in Toy Story.
I think and the more I think about it, I don't know if it's fair to put it all on Whedon, because he was brought in to do that, and that's what he's doing. The studio saw what Snyder left him, and then they were like, whoa, maybe we don't want to do this. Let's make it more like this, and we need to shorten it down, and we need to make it only 2 hours max. So you need to take this script. You need to do this. You can put in your quirky, hip jabs in there and your jokes or whatever, make it entertaining, but we need to shorten this. We need to move this along. So he went in there and he just did his job. I mean, I can't blame him for that. The thing that I think I'm most irritated with now that I think about it is I feel like these DC movies, if this Snyder cut would have been what we've gotten, if that would have been, it almost feels like it was finding its way how it wanted to approach the genre. Like, it's almost like you have to learn how to walk before you can run. And I feel like when you have Man of Steel and you're like, I see what you're going with, but it's not really. And then you get, Batman versus Superman. You're like, you're almost there, man, but it's still not great. And then you get Wonder Woman and you're like, okay, I get this. This is good. Now put that with Batman versus Superman. Put those together and do that. And I think that's what you get when you get this Justice League, this version of the Justice League. And that's what makes it, I think, work and makes it infinitely better than what the film that we got Whedon put out. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any final thoughts on Justice League? No.
Well, here's everything I really thought. No, I'm just kidding.
I like Matt. I like how you pointed out. I just had one more thought. How somebody in there was like, "We've got to make this 2 hours," and then 2 years later, Marvel was like, 3 hours, and it was the highest movie of all time.
Yeah.
Well, second highest grossing.
Well, it was
right.
the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yes.
Now it is rightfully the second highest grossing movie of all time.
There you go.
Back in its place.
Wow.
Standing atop 22, 21 other movies, whereas Avatar is standing on nothing but James Cameron's name.
And big, huge blue people.
Yep. I will stand to that. By that. Whatever. Stick to that.
That's probably the thing I'm most looking forward to is going to be the reception of these sequels when they finally come out. Like, are they going to do as massively crazy as the initial one? I mean, I think they will overseas, definitely.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering how they're going to be reacted to in America when they come out.
Are we talking about Avatar sequels?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I honestly think it'll depend on the condition theaters are in.
Yeah.
I'm
All
out
right.
of thoughts.
And that was Justice League. So since Alex didn't do his part 2 of his homework, I guess we're moving on. So coming up next week, guys, we're going to do the first 3 episodes of Invincible, which is the animated series coming to Amazon Prime. The Robert Kirkman series that is more comic book stuff.
Is it all coming out, or is it just the first 3 episodes and then weekly?
I think it's going to be like The Boys, where it's the first 3 episodes and then weekly.
Okay.
If this version of Invincible doesn't have Mark Wahlberg or the Philadelphia Eagles, I'll be disappointed.
Coming from the big sports guy.
But are you proud of seeing Invincible? Of all the movies, sports movies I've seen, that's the one I've seen.
Yeah, with Mark
Wait,
Wahlberg.
I don't know if we've asked you this, Orion. Do you have a sports movie section?
Yeah, it's very small.
Yeah. I remember
It's
this.
that one.
Yeah.
It's because if I don't have a sports movie section, 50 or 95% of them were just going in dramas, and I don't need to fill up my drama section with just a bunch of sports movies. It's like Cool Runnings can go in comedies, I, Tonya can go in thrillers, and all the rest are dramas.
All the rest.
Cool Runnings.
We have categories and subcategories. So we have to, like, every rotation, we got to check off every major category and 4 out of 8 subcategories. So I've got like superheroes, a subcategory. Fun fact, everybody listening or watching. That's how we organize movies.
For any tips and tricks to organize your movies, contact Ryan.
Yeah, right. All right. So yeah, next week is going to be Invincible. I was just looking at this schedule. So our next video that we're going to be recording is on the 31st. Y'all know what comes out on the 31st, right?
Godzilla.
Are we going to be able to do Godzilla and Invincible? Question mark.
Probably not. I mean, I'll have to work leading up to on that day. So probably not.
Okay.
Join us next week as we live view Godzilla versus King Kong.
Godzilla.
Somebody's like, put that camera down.
I will pad the runtime with some Kong versus Godzilla related reviews.
Oh, I keep forgetting HBO Max too.
Yeah, it's gonna be on HBO Max. That's why I was asking.
And also Nobody. I'll have a review of Nobody next week.
What's a runtime on it?
4 hours.
Godzilla versus Kong.
I think it's 2 hours.
Who's directing this? Is it the same guy who did the King of the Monsters?
No.
A visual effects
Wingard.
artist is directing this. That was a joke.
I was like, hey, you got
Nobody.
me.
I don't know.
I don't think that we've gotten a runtime for Godzilla versus Kong, have we?
I know that it's
It says an hour and 53 minutes on Google.
okay. I was gonna say because
Okay.
I specifically remember saying like it's around a half hour shorter than King of the Monsters.
This is Adam Wingard. He directed The
Yep.
Guest, Last Survivors, Blair Witch. I like Last Survivors. That's a good movie. He's done horror films
I
Mhm.
was gonna say I was like,
exclusively.
He did Death Note, which was horribly bad.
Oh,
Yeah. You're Next, I think. That's actually, it was,
that's solid. If he did
yeah.
I've never heard of it.
And The
It's-
Guest was pretty good.
Yeah, The Guest was pretty good. Your Next is kind of Ready or Not, pre-Ready or Not. So it's kind of like
Not
this, Yeah.
Totally
It's
not
like-
ready.
It's like Ready or Not, but the chick is actually like super tough.
hmm
Ready or Player One.
Actually, I suggest You're Next. It's a pretty good movie. Okay, so we're gonna aim for Invincible. First 3 episodes of Invincible. Any other thoughts, guys?
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on our tribute to Justice League, our 4-hour show this week.
Yay!
This is what I thought of hour
Why
two.
am I a horse?
Because you've been talking. You've done a lot of talking.
Mm,
You've done some very
Yeah.
eloquent speech, too. We've not all been eloquent talkers today. But you've definitely done.
Me like movie because reasons.
he's so good. I like Batman.
Batfleck.
Can I wait? I'm
No, we're
liking the fact that they took out the Russian people out of that little fight scene at the end of this movie too. By the way,
Oh yeah, we can do a whole video on like what they took out of the Weed
Yeah.
Cut.
sorry, I won't. I will stop before I think of something else.
Yeah.
Shut up, Matt.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, just want to thank everyone for watching and listening. Please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment. Again, we're on Apple, Google, and Spotify if you're listening to us. But if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. See you all next week.